All right, guys, welcome back to the shack. Tonight, we're going to be covering a topic that a lot of people ask about. It affects everybody that has a laser, and there's really no substitution for this process when it comes to making sure that you have the right power and the right speed every time. And that is power testing charts, power grids, test grids, whatever you want to call it. But the whole basic principle is it runs different speeds and different powers, and you do this on every different medium that you use, and then you just kind of go through here and select the look that you're going for, and that's your settings. So that's a very critical part of using a laser engraver and having good results that are consistent time after time after time. So if that's something you're interested in, stick around. We're going to get back. We're going to discuss the importance of it, and then I'm going to show you how using the Lightburn tool you can create your own power grids, power charts, however you want to call it, and you can save those guys to your computer. And anytime you get a new material, you can load that thing, run the test, and you can confidently move forward knowing that the result that you get is going to be the result that you wanted. Recently, I had a customer that wanted to start ordering cutting boards from me. These are bamboo cutting boards. I had had some terrible experiences with bamboo in the past because people would bring me things that I'd only had one of, and I didn't get an opportunity to do this, and so I had to guess at the settings. Now, although you can do that, I recommend anytime you can, order extra blank, or if you mess up on something and it's got scrapped anyway, turn it into a test piece, guys. It'll save you in the long run. It'll save you money. It'll save you time. And it just makes life a lot better and a lot easier. So this is the general principle of what we're talking about. And you can see in this one that you have a lighter burn down to the darker burn. And that's because the power and the speed gradually get faster and higher from this point out. Your speed goes up this way, or your power goes up this way, speed goes up that way, and that results in the different shades. Now, that's really, really something that you're going to want to pay attention to when you're trying to do an engrave and you want to have shading. If you're doing an engrave that has two different layers that you're going to run at two different power settings to try to contrast them, you would want to know what power settings to use to be able to get good contrast. If you wanted a really dark and then you wanted a not so dark, then you just pick those out and use those settings, and you would have confidence in knowing, outside of the fact that wood, bamboo, any type of natural medium is gonna have some variations. So it's not an exact science when you're dealing with things like bamboo, wood, so forth. If you're looking at more of the metals or acrylics, man-made materials, you'll have a little more consistency with the power and speed settings because you don't have that tighter grain or looser grain or harder wood or softer wood all in the same workpiece. It's going to be a lot more consistent, so you'll have better results. So do keep that in mind. Natural materials are going to have variations, and there's nothing you can do to fix that. So one thing that I will say is substances like this little glass pane that I've got here. This stuff is painted. It's like an oyster glass tile type thing for backsplashes, and I did a test grid on it. But the purpose that I did it for was to come in from the front here. I wanted to be able to see what it would look like from the front. And I've got another one of these that I'm going to try to do an engrave on, but I wanted to figure out what settings would give me the desired effect. And as you can see, all these different grids that I did, I've got varying effects on the glass on that side. So that's why it's important, because if your settings are off, you may get right the opposite look as what you were shooting for. So that's something that you're going to want to consider anytime you're getting into a new medium. And these are just a few of the samples that I have. I just ran around the shop and picked up the ones that I keep for future reference. And like I said, this little tile is not really cheap, so I didn't want to throw this away. So I just filed it away with my power settings. And that way I can go back and reference it when I'm trying to, if I wanted the frosting, or if I wanted the black, or if I wanted the painted on look, I would know where to go. So acrylic, that's another one. if you're trying to get that white look on black acrylic, you know, you're going to want to figure out what power settings and what speed settings work best. As you can see, depending on the power and speed, some of it's a little whiter than other, some of it's a little blacker than other. Now I will tell you, with acrylic, you're going to want to run air assist. I have a lot better luck getting white lettering on black acrylic running air assist. If you don't run air assist, it pretty much just scratches it, and it doesn't make it turn white like that. Learn that one the hard way, guys. So if you're trying to get color on acrylic, I would definitely turn up the air assist. Sometimes the more air assist you run, the whiter. The less air assist, the darker, and sometimes it's right the opposite. So you're going to want to do the test on this, but not only do it this way, but you're also going to want to change the air assist settings as you do them to determine which look you like best. Because it's not a matter of if you can engrave it, it's how to get that look that you like. So, MDF, you know, that's X2D1. I got a Comgrow right there, okay, MDF, Monport. Somebody forgot to write it on this one. But you get the picture, guys. Each machine is going to interact differently with each medium. Each medium is going to interact differently with each machine. So whether it's a different medium or a different machine, you're going to want to rerun those tests to get the best results. Now, I'm not saying you got to do it every time. You can have some outstanding results. I get lucky sometimes and just plug something in there and it works. It works great. But then there's other times that I do it and you end up having to redo it or start over or wasting a blank. So those are the times that you're trying to avoid. So I'm going to move over to Lightburn and we're going to go through the basic principles. This video is going to be all about the power grid settings, how to set that up, how to save it, how to import those, and that's pretty much going to be the video. So here we go. Let's get over to the computer. All right, guys, welcome to the computer. And today I'm going to go over basic. All we're going to be concentrating on today is going to be this guy right here. And you would go into Lightburn, go under laser tools, and it's going to be the material test. This is probably one of the most helpful, most useful functions that you will find in Lightburn. It'll save you a lot of material and a lot of heartache from damaged or improperly completed projects. Now, just to give you an idea of the layout of the land here, I'm going to start at the top and just kind of work my way over and down. And for those of you that have used this before, I apologize, but the intended audience for this are those guys who don't know about this and haven't used it. So I'm going to try to make sure that I can cover it as thoroughly as possible. So this is the presets, guys, and if you don't have any already made up, you're probably not going to have anything in here. I have several that I have created, and I have got these created for specific purposes, and because I do a lot of side-by-side comparison, I want to make sure that I'm using the same settings for these tests on different machines, and so that's why I have so many different variations. Well, I'll show you in a minute how to create one of those from scratch, and this is a save, delete, and then this is your export preset and import presets. And yes, guys, you can share these. You can export that, and then if you have another machine that's on your network, you can drop that into a folder and you can share it between machines. That's typically what I use it for. I don't send these many places. All right, down here, these are actually your settings. This here actually pertains to the layout of the grid itself. This is more or less just your file management tab here. So the standard, the way that these things come, the way Lightburn sets them up, is going to be a 10 by 10. And I'm going to show you what that looks like with the preview button here. So you're going to have 10 across and 10 up. That's just the standard interval test or power test that they're going to load when you go in here. Okay. You've got the traversal modes. You're not really going to care about that. The biggest part of this that you're going to care to see is going to be how you lay this out. All right, you can do these. I have some that are 5 by 5s. See, this 50-50 and up. That's a 10 by 10. Let's see, I've got some 5 by 5s in here somewhere. Where is it at? There's a 6x6. I've got that one set up for 6x6. This is my tumbler speed test. And I start my power out at 70 and go up to 100. I start the speed at 50 and go up to 150. And with that little quick test right there, typically I can get a good setting for getting nice, clean tumblers without any overburn or without any leaf being left behind. So you can customize these things to however you want to. I even have, see if that 30 watt, that's a 5x5. That's a 30 watt glass test that I set up. So you can set them up however you feel. All right. This is going to be your vertical rows, and you can add these. Like I said, you can put, I mean, you can do a 50x50 if you want. If I can get my numbers to work here. All right, number pad's not working. Give me just a second, guys. There we go. Well, let's just do it this way. Okay, maybe you can't do 50. You can do 10. All right. Maybe there is a limit. 20. Let's see. 30. 40. Okay, well, let me go to 50. Let me do 49. No. 45 maybe. No. Looks like 40 may be the limit, guys. I lied. Okay, so 40 apparently it will not take anything above the value of 40. So move over here. We'll do another one with 40. Now, this is going to be a really intense power grid, but there it is, guys. So you can make these things really absurdly large if you want to, or you can make them really small. You can go and just do a 2x2. You can customize these to however you see fit. 2x2 is not going to do you a lot of good, but you know, it'd be quick. So that's how you set the columns. This parameter, you can actually change those. I don't really know why you would want to unless you wanted to set the interval or the passes to change. But with a speed and power, we're going to just study those today. Speed and power, this column is going to be your speed. So you're going to want to set the minimum speed. Anytime you're, let's say if you're trying to engrave, you want to make sure it's an engrave realistic speed. You don't want to go too slow, especially in engrave mode, because you will start a fire. If you set it to feel, and you set this at like 10 millimeters per second, and you turn the power up to 100%, you're good likelihood of starting a fire. So be mindful that this needs to be semi-realistic. It doesn't have to be exact, but you don't want to be running 5 millimeters per second engrave at 100% output. That's not going to work out well. This is your maximum speed. So if you know at a certain speed your machine pretty much quits writing because it's moving too fast, you're going to want to stay below that. Typically, I leave my max set to 100, 150, 200, depending on how light I want to go with this and considering how many boxes I have created. Typically, if you do an 8x8, if you're just totally unaware of what your settings should be, you could do an 8x8. And if you were doing engraving, you could do 50 to 100. And then on your power, you could go, I would probably do 50 to 100 here. And that would kind of give you a good, like, wide range of power settings, wide range of speed that would get you close to the results that you want. Now, let's say you ran this test and it came back and you could tell that somewhere in here is where you want to be. Then you create another test, but you change the parameters to use this as your minimum and maximum, and this is your minimum and maximum. And then you run that test again, and you can keep doing that and go deeper and deeper until it gets to the point to where there's no change between these boxes. And you know, but if you do the smaller ones like this is going to be like an 8-minute burn. So if, like I said, if you don't find one that you like, but you can tell it's somewhere within these 4 or 5 boxes or 8 boxes here, then you can take those settings, use those as your minimum and maximum, use this same size grid so it only takes you a few minutes to run it, and run it again and get a little bit more variety, and maybe even find that exact color that you're going for. So when you're setting this thing up, these are all basically they're going to be, you're going to leave these alone unless you want to do it, bigger boxes, which is just going to make it take longer. I've had good luck with the 5mm by 5mm boxes. This is where in the workspace this test grid is going to burn. There are times, especially when I'm running multiple test grids and I don't want to move my material, that I will go ahead and custom insert the location here. And that is going to be where you want the center of this test grid. So you could adjust those, if you had a 400 by 400 workspace, like you could set this one to 150 and then set this one to, you know, 225 or whatever to try to space them out to keep them from being on top of each other. And you can just move them around. If you don't know exactly where you want to put them, you can always measure over and down and do it that way. But for the most part, it's always going to be in the center of your workspace unless you change those numbers. These settings here are very, very necessary. Make sure when you're setting these up, if you want to do a fill, this is going to be your editor. This setting here, the material setting, is going to be what is used to create this, okay? So if you've got this on fill, it's going to do an engrave or fill test. If you've got it on line, it's going to do a line or cut, depending on the speed. You can also go in here and change your LPI. You can turn, bidirectional off. You can change your overscan. I mean, you can turn on flood fill. You can test all of those different things in this entire test grid by changing them here. So this is going to be what dictates each one of those little boxes that is created in this test grid. So whatever those settings are is going to apply to all of these boxes right here. All right. Now, this one's sometimes overlooked, and I overlook it at times too, guys. This is going to be the speed and power setting for the text that is around the test grid. That's going to be the power and speed settings for this text right here. So if that is way too high, or if that is set to a line and set to go really slow, it's actually going to cut those letters out. So you're going to want to make sure that it doesn't have to be the perfect setting, because if you knew the perfect setting, you wouldn't be doing this. But it does need to be close enough to be legible and not start a fire. So those are two requirements. Try to make it at least legible, and at least don't start a fire with it. So if you have absolutely no idea what to run here, 50 and 50 would probably be a safe bet. 100 and 100 would probably be a safe bet, but do not run this like 10 millimeters a second, set to line, because it's going to basically try to cut your material in half. So this is where you're going to start with your best guess. If you typically cut wood at a specific setting with your machine and you have good results, then drop that in here. It may be too dark, or it may not be dark enough, but as long as it's legible and it doesn't start a fire, it's a win. And then the next time you run this material, you'll know exactly what to put in here by referencing the test grid. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to create a new test grid and just show you the steps. So we're going to leave this one at 8 by 8. I'm going to set the minimum to 50, 100, 50, 100. This is going to be a very basic grid. And so once you get all of these things put in here, then if you want to save this before you run it, I would recommend you just hit the save button. And then you can name this, and I'm going to name it 8 by 8. And just hit OK. Now that is saved. So when you go to exit, if you close, and you can exit completely out of Lightburn. We'll exit completely out of Lightburn here. Open Lightburn back up. That power grid, and this is a totally different machine too. This is actually, it defaulted back to my Acer. So if I go in here and I go to a material test, I'm on a different machine, but I can go back in here and there's the 8 by 8. That is the one that we just created just a few minutes ago, and I can now run that on this same machine using those same settings on that material or any other material and be able to check the results. if you want to delete one, while it is selected in this preset box right here, just hit the delete. And it's going to ask you, are you sure you want to delete preset 8x8? And just say yes. So as you can see, guys, I'm a big believer in these things. I've got all kinds of tests, and yes, I have one for clothing because I have engraved blue jeans before, and I needed a good reference because you don't want to ruin a good pair of pants trying to engrave them and have the wrong setting and burn a hole through them. So I've got one set up for clothing, and I can go in here and you can see the speeds: 50 to 75% power output, 150 to 200 on the speed. And that was what I run on blue jean or denim material to figure out where that little white engraved look comes from without damaging the material. So you can save those. And if it doesn't work before you exit out of it, you can actually make changes in here and save it. And then next time you pull it up, it'll already be here. I've got, canvas test. Got that guy. Now this is a big one. It's a 20 by 20 because there's a lot of, when you're doing canvas and you're doing painted layers and you've got 3 or 4 different layers of paint, there's a lot of variables and a lot of different colors that could show up if this was like a triple coat of paint on a canvas. That's why I have these varying speeds, because if you've got a red canvas with a red layer, a yellow layer, and a green layer, you will actually see the green, yellow, and red appear at different locations in here based on the power and speed settings. So it's a very powerful little tool. I'm really thankful that they included it with Lightburn, and that's one reason why I like Lightburn. It has a tool for pretty much everything. Then I've got one for metal, and you can see that this guy right here, you're running from 80 to 100% power, 5 up to 50, and that was just basically trying to mark stainless steel or some type of metal to see what kind of results I could get. And you can save these. These will be here from now on as long as you don't delete the folder that they're saved in on your computer, which is inside Lightburn, and you can reference them anytime you need to. So you can also save the G code and export them to, say, a TF card and put in your machine if you want. But I have not had really good luck with consistency and, the files being the way that I wanted them to when I got them on the machine. So I don't usually use that. But if you want to play around with that, that option is in here. But 2 big things to remember, guys. This is your text setting, okay? This is going to be the text. So always make sure that you're at least not going to create a hazard burning your text, because this is going to run, if you put this at 5 millimeters a second, 100% output, it's going to try to cut that text on that setting the whole time. This is your material setting. This is where you go to change the number of passes, the LPI, any of the advanced settings that you want to put on here. Bidirectional fill, overscanning, all of that is changed here. Filling shapes individually, all at once. It's all right here. So that's pretty much it, guys. There's really nothing else to know about this other than it is probably the most useful tool in Lightburn. So I hope that helps. But that's going to be it for tonight, guys. So if you haven't, go ahead, hit that thumbs up, subscribe, share, help spread the word. Anything that you want to see done here at the Clack Shack, let me know when I've got time, when I don't have jobs piled up or machines to check out. I enjoy getting out here and doing these videos that are basically the reason I started my channel, was to help people. And so that's what I like doing. So if you have any ideas for content, feel free to shoot them my way. If it's something that I can do, I'll try to work it in and get that out for you as soon as possible. So until next time, guys, be safe and have a good day.